Bruh, if I learned anything this week watching the Young Dolph trial, it's that if you're a hitman, make sure you take your deposits up front. Don't be like this guy when they run off on the bill, on everything. Imagine being a hitman and you got promised $40,000 to take out one of your city's biggest rappers and a multi-millionaire at that. You do the impossible, take him out in broad daylight, get away from the scene. You FaceTime the man who's bankrolling this hit and you find out you're only getting a letter and the same amount you would have gotten if you worked at Subway for 2 weeks.
Moments after, Smith says he FaceTimed Jook using sign language to tell him Young Dolph had been shot. He said Jook told him he was with his kids and would get with them later.
I just want my money. I did the job. I just want my money.
Smith says he was promised $40,000 for the shooting. He says he received $500.
Can't even get a real lawyer for $800, bro. You're fried. Oh yeah, and fast forward 3 years, you're not ducked off in a beach somewhere overseas. Nah, you got a one-way ticket to free room and board with all male showers for the rest of your life. Honestly, bro, I don't know how I'd feel, but I guarantee my face would be looking like this dude Cornelius Smith. And a crazy turn of events in the Young Dolph trial today, stunning revelations about his case were revealed that pretty much shook the rap industry. Prosecutors and the shooter Cornelius Smith revealed Yo Gotti's brother, Big Jook, Anthony MEMPHIS, was allegedly responsible for paying Cornelius Smith and rising Z-list Memphis rapper Straight Drop, aka Justin Johnson, to go on a hit to take out Young Dolph. This is generational beef with brothers and family members getting involved and contributing to a never-ending violent cycle. But how we got to this point is completely crazy. From gang kingpins getting murked in broad daylight.
He's shooting in Hickory Hill with connections to Memphis rapper Yo Gotti.
5 police sources have confirmed with Fox 13 that the person killed is Anthony MEMPHIS, also known as Big Jook. Now, Big Jook is the brother of rapper Yo Gotti.
Shooters making diss songs while on the run, and the slimiest triple crossing that would make anyone want to quit the streets today. Man, we have to explain the beef that got Yo Gotti's big brother Jook to take out Young Dolph and the aftermath of the decision right now. The whole timeline from the jump to the present day right now. But before we do, gang, I'm gonna need you to run something for me, man. Like, comment, subscribe. We on the road to 100K subs. Hit that merch link in the description. Cop some merch at StaySafeWorld.com. Make sure you hit that notification bell so whenever I post, you're tuned in right away. Man, we got to get into this from the very start. September 24th, 2024, almost 3 years since the broad daylight shooting that killed Young Dolph, the trial for his alleged shooters had officially begun. On the first day, the Shelby County prosecutor came out with some crazy facts, which included that Anthony Big Jook MEMPHIS ultimately was the man behind the curtain when it came to financing Young Dolph's death. Crazy thing is, his justice was already handed out by the streets earlier this year when he was shot and killed while leaving a funeral service on January 13th. Many felt that the streets had known it was Big Jook behind Dolph's shooting for a minute, with many people citing a Dolph affiliate named Grove Hero, where he explains that Jook and CMG had something to do with it in a now viral video. But now knowing that he pretty much ran off on the shooters with the bread that he promised, it really has me wondering if one of the people that were associated with those shooters murked dude for being a scammer. You know, you never know. Regardless, his death really just shows that the broader picture of this war in Memphis is just crash out activity. There's no true winner but the police and the penitentiary. The only thing there is players in the game fighting till the death. The wild thing about this beef though is this wasn't something that was brewing overnight. This was a long feud going back almost a decade and a half over really absolutely nothing. Nothing important enough to kill someone over and spend your whole life behind bars, I'm telling you. And we're gonna get into how it even got this far though from the jump right now. The origins of this beef starts all the way back in the streets and studios of Memphis, Tennessee in the early 2010s. By 2011, 2012, Yo Gotti had a buzz around his name in Memphis for being a successful hustler and had been promoting his music and hustling since the late 90s. At the same time, he also was known for putting together his own independent record company, Cocaine Music Group, aka CMG. By 2012, a rapper from the Castilla Heights section of Memphis named Young Dolph was starting to make some traction as a mixtape artist and began to have eyes on him from labels in the city and elsewhere. Crazy thing is, Yo Gotti, seeing this rise, was trying to capitalize in any way you could. That's really the only way a label can survive. You know, gotta tap in with what the people are actually listening to. Yo Gotti alleged tried signing Dolph multiple times while he was on the come up. They were somewhat cool at this point though. Even old archive footage showing Yo Gotti bringing out Young Dolph at a show dating back in 2012, which is crazy. People speculate though that Dolph had some type of animosity from how Gotti had reacted to him not wanting to be on the label. Throughout his mixtapes, people tend to point out specific lyrics that could be sneak disses here and there, but really things got crazy at around 2014. In between 2012 and 2014, Dolph was doing some slight instigating behind the scenes, like positioning himself with people who didn't vibe with Yo Gotti, like Juicy J J and Gucci Man, who himself had a feud with Yo Gotti for that's a whole nother video. The sort of thing definitely rubbed Gotti the wrong way, but at the same time you never know if Gotti could have been trying to extort Dolph into signing into his label, basically, you know, pay for protection, force him, strong arm him. That rubbed Dolph the wrong way. Things start to get more direct though in August of 2014. At around that time, on the promo for his High Class Street Music 4 American Gangster tape, Dolph would go on Sway in the Morning satellite radio and spark up a conversation about why he didn't want to sign to Yo Gotti. Dolph sort of chalks it up to not wanting to ride another artist's coattails, and he'd rather invest in himself and his own label, PRE. He implies that Yo Gotti took offense to that. That was pretty much the first time the animosity was brought out to the public. Shortly after this, in December that year, Yo Gotti shoots a music video for his Concealed song in Dolph's neighborhood. He taunts him on Instagram, posting that he's in the area armed with, you know, guns, and films a video with him and his CMG affiliates. Dolph basically responds, hopping out a Porsche with a bag of money in his own video, saying he'd be mad at him too if he was that rich. From that point on, Yo Gotti starts taking a more quiet approach, only dissing subliminally, or not even dissing at all, or just not even naming him in the disses. Dolph, on the other hand, went headfirst into this. He drops a project in 2016 called King of Memphis, saying he's the top dog in the city because Gotti was known to refer to himself as the King of Memphis. While things hadn't gotten violent yet, 2016 would be a pretty wild year. Yo Gotti's artist Black Youngster would start dissing Dolph for saying that he's the King of Memphis, then go to Dolph's neighborhood in March of 2016 filming an infamous IG Live video. Following this, Dolph would drop a video dissing Yo Gotti, saying he sent Black Youngster and others to fight his battles, and this was followed by Black Youngster dropping his diss track Shade Something, but he later tries to squash the beef on the internet. Best believe things got worse because in 2017 that was the start of the real violence. It started with Dolph dropping his infamous diss Play With Your Bitch as promo for his Gelato mixtape. Gotti wouldn't publicly diss back and would just imply that he was taking the high route through a series of tweets, and later released his own type diss warning shot thing called Don't Beef With Me. Things would get even crazier though, because Dolph would drop his video for Play With Your Bitch and have a full big-headed Yo Gotti lookalike and pretty much clown the dude. Yeah, this right here is when things went too far, you know? On February 25th, 2017, Dolph was at Charlotte, North Carolina for a show when his vehicle was shot up on some crazy shit. Over 100 rounds were fired at his car, but it was bulletproof, so he was left unscathed. He would keep going and actually perform at the show the same day, performing his diss track. What kind of promo is that? However, fast forward several months and he wouldn't be so lucky. One night in Hollywood, California, Dolph would be approached by several men outside the Lowe's Hotel on Hollywood Boulevard. A fight would ensue and he would get shot multiple times. It was super crazy, with Yo Gotti and Black Youngster being rumored as suspects, and one of the members of Gotti's entourage, Corey McClellan, would be charged, but charges would later be dropped. From that point, the beef would be subliminal or behind the scenes, or possibly in the streets of Memphis for several years, till the biggest shooting of this beef would take place in November of 2021. Chapter 2, the Dolph shooting. As the trials continued, we learned a clearer picture. On November 17, 2021, with the holidays fast approaching, with Thanksgiving a week away, Dolph was in Memphis spending time with family, as well as holding his annual turkey and toy drive in South Memphis area with his label PRE. It's a time of the year that him and his artists would pull up to the less fortunate and give back. At the same time though, it was a known time that he would be vulnerable traveling throughout the city, and it seems like that's what his ops were waiting on. Cornelius Smith, the main shooter and the person who was testifying today, stated that Gotti's brother had been plotting and trying to murk anyone from PRE for a minute. Cornelius Smith states he had arranged meetings with Smith and Straight Drop, aka Justin Johnson, telling them that he'd be willing to pay $100K, $40K for Smith, and the rest to Straight Drop for just murking anyone on PRE. Straight Drop, being a full-time crash dummy and part-time rapper, was looking to spend the money on his rap career and become CMG's newest artist somehow. Fried activity, I'm telling you. Cornelius Smith was apparently even more fried though, and was just looking to spend the money on drugs. So on that day, they linked up knowing PRE would be in town. Straight Drop picked up Cornelius Smith in a white Mercedes with gloves on, and Smith had his own gloves, and they each had a handgun and a Draco in the back seat, ready to ride around South Memphis looking for Dolph. At the same time as this, Dolph just so happened to be riding around the city with his brother, looking to make a stop at Makeda's Cookies, a black-owned bakery in South Memphis. He was known to pull up filming a couple of promo videos for them in the past, so this was a very usual destination. Him and his brother pulled up to the store, and new surveillance footage has shown they pretty much were on point. His brother was clutching in the store, and he had a Draco in the car and was looking around, checking their around and surroundings. However, even though their guard was up, they would never be expecting what would happen next. Cornelius Smith and Justin Johnson would rush the cookie store with the Draco, and Johnson with the handgun, and in a matter of 30 seconds, shots would be fired in the window, hitting Dolph multiple times. Dolph's brother would actually fire back, hitting Smith in the arm and Justin Johnson as well in the shoulder. They were able to get away and try to burn the car they were in and get to an apartment complex where they would look at their wounds. While Smith would say Justin Johnson would FaceTime Big Jook, Jook and tell him in sign language what went down. Immediately, Smith said he was starting to feel remorse and a feeling that things were not feeling right. He didn't feel any emotions while shooting because he was just thinking about the money, but things were starting to take a turn for the worse when later that week he would receive his first amount of money and only amount of money from Big Jook. Unfortunately, that amount of money, he said, added up to $500 in a signed letter, which he later flushed down the toilet. The debate is still here because other lawyers are arguing that the first attorney that he had was paid thousands of dollars to defend him, so they don't believe that he was only paid that amount. But I don't know where people basically got $800 from. But yeah, needless to say, him and Straight Drop, not very smart, pretty much went on the run for a while, but it was fried. Drop would release a new song trying to gear up his rap career while Cornelius would lay low, but they eventually both got caught from the amount of evidence they left in the car and the number of cameras everywhere they went. Smith was arrested first, and he came to his senses after sobering up in jail, started feeling remorse, and basically snitched right there, getting Justin Johnson arrested along with another facilitator named Hernandez Govan, the father of Ladakai's Desto, who also died, but we don't know if that's connected. The crazy thing is, this wouldn't be the only high-profile death in Memphis, because soon after, another would go down that would affect the whole trajectory of this trial, which we'll get into in chapter 3, the aftermath. Saturday, January 13th, 2024, Anthony Mims would be in town in Memphis for a family funeral, honoring an uncle who had passed away from natural causes. Yo Gotti would also pull up to the funeral, but would leave immediately since obviously Memphis was on some crazy shit. Big Jook, on the other hand, would go with the family and go to a restaurant in the Hickory Hill area of the city for a repast. Everything seemed normal, but then at around 4:15 p.m., an officer in the area reported multiple gunshots at a strip mall where the restaurant was. When they arrived on scene, they found Big Jook shot multiple times exiting his car and no one left at the scene. After searching surveillance cameras, police were only able to come up with this picture of a white tinted out Ford Explorer with no license plate speeding away from the scene. Big Jook was killed in a hail of gunfire, and since then there's been no suspects. So basically, long story short, it's like a full cycle of karma. Big Jook, the brother of Yo Gotti, pays for this hit, they go and take him out, and then he gets taken out. All in all, the only person here who's left unscathed is Yo Gotti, but I'm sure he's watching this trial very carefully. It's kind of crazy to see because he was like 1 degree of separation away from the person that paid for this, which has people believing that he knew about this. He could have even funded it himself, but it basically came to the top. But it was plausible deniability, meaning that it was his brother, so he didn't know anything about it. There was nothing on paper saying that it was him. Like, he was just there and didn't know about it. But at the end of the day, this puts a giant target on CMG and on Yo Gotti, and pretty much they're going to be having to look over their shoulder for the rest of their life. I mean, look at what happened to Big Jook. Look at what happened to Young Dolph. There's no way you can really just go 100% unscathed unless you're just not in the city. That's pretty much what you're going to have to do. And whether or not this is going to end up getting a RICO on CMG is yet to be told. But this is honestly crazy news. Imagine finding out like a record executive paid to get someone killed, like Leor Cohen, or like what's that guy's name? The dude from Universal Music Group, Lucien Grange. What if he went out and fired it and killed a random artist with a hitman that he paid for? That's honestly insane. So I wouldn't be surprised if something happens to Yo Gotti also. But this really cleared up a lot of confusion that people had, like saying that the person who was with y'all didn't shoot. You know, if you're in that scenario, I feel like a lot of people would freeze up. And when you watch the surveillance footage, it just shows how quickly everything happened. This isn't a video game where you could duck behind stuff. You're caught up in an open area with no cover, bro. You're gonna get murked 9 times out of 10 when people are right in front of you. And he hit them. He did what he was supposed to do. But at the end of the day, they kind of messed up in general. You shouldn't be going anywhere without a huge security detail and bulletproof car. But they didn't know it was like that. And now it's definitely like that. You're not gonna catch Yo Gotti slipping like that unless he just doesn't care. But I doubt bro is in the city, and I doubt bro is riding around in anything less than a bulletproof car, because the way this is going, it's not gonna be any winners besides the police, the feds, or just the jails, you know, because everyone is going outside. Even people associated are going outside. So it's kind of crazy to see how this is going down. The trial, I mean, it's not really that much a surprise. These dudes are cooked. They're about to get life in prison. And the real bombshell is just that Big Jook was definitely a part of it now that we find out. And I guess if they end up, Cornelius Smith ends up, I don't know, it's not like he's gonna win. He's definitely just going to jail for life. If he ends up doing that and they end up winning, the prosecutors end up winning, I guess it's proof that Big Jook had something to do with it, man. But hey, let me know in the comments what y'all think. Real say shit. You already know what's going on. Like, comment, subscribe. You already know, gang. Check out the merch link in the description. Peace.